This is Meteo Mundo.
Hi everyone, I'm Meteo Mundo Chief Meteorologist Rusty McCraney. This is going to be a look at your tropics for Monday, September the 11th. Let me first off by saying that if you like the content of the channel, if it's helping you out, planning out your day, the forecast around the Caribbean and the Bahamas, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. We're to be producing more and more content here as we move forward. 3 different videos for today, as a matter of fact. We're going to start off with a look at what's happening across the Atlantic Basin. Obviously, the big story is still going to be what's happening with Hurricane Lee. We also still have Tropical Storm Margot. Margot will quickly become a Category 1 hurricane, but again, Margot is moving into some cooler waters of the central and then eventually the northern sides of the Atlantic, and hopefully remaining a fish storm, don't have any threat to land right now. 2 areas of interest. The one in yellow is going to dissipate in the next 48 hours and not become a tropical system, but the one in orange, still coming off the West African coast, that one has a high 60% chance of development. Tropical development in the southern Atlantic Basin with that disturbance is likely as we go over the next 4, 5, 6 days. And that one could be taking a very similar track to Hurricane Lee. So obviously something we're going to be closely monitoring for you here on Meteo Mundo as we move forward. Let's get into what's happening with Lee right now. Lee fought a lot of wind shear and weakened over the weekend, but still is a very impressive Category 2 hurricane. Winds of 105 miles an hour. We still have a nice wide berth between the Turks and Caicos and the eastern Bahamas as Lee begins that turn to the west-northwest and eventually, hopefully, almost due north here by midweek, paralleling the United States East Coast. Still an opportunity. Portions of New England or eastern Canada could feel some more direct impacts out of Lee, but we'll talk about that coming up. But again, the big story for the Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos is going to be the very large and dangerous swells. I actually have an entirely different video on what impacts I expect Lee to bring to the marine forecast for those areas, so look for that as well. Let's show you what's very impressive right now, and that is going to be the satellite imagery. Man, does Lee look really good right now. This is our enhanced satellite imagery. We're right on the edge of that data, so Lee is just moving into that view. But first of all, I want you to notice, do you see these whites wrapping around the center of Lee? That's an indication that the strong thunderstorms are returning and beginning to wrap around the center of circulation, which is always indicative of a strengthening trend. After fighting some wind shear over the weekend, it's now moving into more favorable conditions, and more than likely we're going to have a Category 3 hurricane again. Winds right now are just shy of that at 105, but still a very, very strong Category 2 for us here. As far as that track to the Bahamas, I can put our measurement tool on this again as well. We'll start with the Turks and Caicos, and I'm going to draw a line to that center point. And the good news is we're still looking to be about 400 miles or so away from the southeast Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos as the closest approach. So again, we're not expecting hurricane conditions up and down the Bahamas for Great Abaco and Grand Bahama, for Nassau, New Providence. We're looking good, but again, there's going to be a lot of wind and wave action being produced out of Lee, so we're going to have to monitor that situation for you. As far as what's going to be happening with the radar here, this is the GFS model. I can put that into motion for you. And again, Lee is still forecast on all the major models to take that northerly turn, getting into the Gulf Stream waters, and eventually beginning to lose some steam. It's still going to be a major Category 2 to 3 hurricane here as we go over the next 72 hours or so. It is still moving fairly slowly, but it will begin to more rapidly accelerate as it heads up the eastern seaboard, and again, potentially towards New England or the eastern sides of Canada. This is the European model. We'll kind of pick it up here. This is going to be late in the week and into the weekend, so we've still got basically another week to watch, but there is an opportunity that in a weekend state, Lee could be slamming portions of New England towards Nova Scotia, Canada, and again, that would be some very high sea conditions, very windy and wet along the coastline, and obviously potentially bringing some torrential downpours and some other situations there. So that could be the most direct approach to land that Lee has at the end of the time frame as it moves up towards the northeast of the United States and the eastern sides of Canada. That's the latest on the tropics. Again, if you want the latest forecast on the Bahamas and another video that we're going to do, we're going to look across the entire Caribbean for the rain chances in your area the next couple of days. Like and subscribe. Find those videos for you right here on Meteo Mundo.